Governor Tim Kaine highlighted the adoption of enhanced stormwater regulations by the Virginia Soil and Water Conservation Board today. The new regulations are expected to reduce the impact of polluted runoff from new developments into the waters of the Chesapeake Bay and other waterways in the Commonwealth. The adoption of enhanced stormwater regulations will update requirements established 20 years ago. And joining us now to discuss the regulations is the Director of the Virginia Department of Conservation and Recreation, Joe Maroon. Joe, thanks for joining us.
My great pleasure, Bob.
Now, Joe, what is the problem that these stormwater regulations tries to solve?
Well, this is one of the most significant problems, water quality problems associated with cleaning up our local rivers and streams, our lakes, and ultimately the Chesapeake Bay. Stormwater runoff deals both with the polluted runoff, what comes off of a development site, along with the rainwater is often a lot of different types of oils and so forth, but it's also nutrients like phosphorus and nitrogen and sediment, and if you get too much of those into the water, it causes major water quality problems. But it also is addressing the concern about the volume of water and the velocity of that water coming off of the site and flooding downstream channels, causing problems for downstream property and so forth. Both of these aspects, water quality and water quantity, are what's being addressed in these updated regulations.
And what we're talking about here are future developments, which is what this deals with, right?
That's right. It's new developments and how they will impact our waters in the future.
Okay. So tell the viewers, how is it handled now, regulation-wise?
Well, there's been regulation for about 20 years in some parts of the state. Those regulations, of course, are outdated now. They've largely applied in areas east of 95, the eastern half of Virginia, and in some larger municipalities in the western part of the state. But many of the localities in the western half of the state, have not really dealt with stormwater management on a routine basis. And so this will bring a more statewide consistency to the issue of stormwater management, which is the source to the bay, that is the only source of the bay that's really growing. Agriculture's gotten better, sewage treatment plants have gotten better, but this one area continues to grow. So
let's paint it for our viewers. You've got a development, a big store or a big housing development. You've got all this surface, roads, driveways, parking lots that rainwater collects on, goes down the stormwater system into the streams. What are the ways that you're going to reduce that with these new regulations?
Well, there's lots of different ways, but the first thing that a developer would do would be to begin to look at the site differently. They would look at the site holistically. They'd start with this notion that we've got to treat the stormwater hopefully on the site and reduce the amount that comes off of the site. So they can do that through what's called low-impact development techniques. It might be rainwater harvesting, it might be rain gardens, it could be a green roof, it could be a number of different things on the site itself. And those are some newer techniques that people have been using now throughout the country. Or they could tap into a regional pond that a locality might develop, a regional stormwater pond. And if whatever they can't get done on site, then there's a number of different options for them to be able to get the remainder of that off-site through a number of new options that are now available to them. So it's really being creative and innovative, using several techniques that have been demonstrated across the country as being effective.
Okay, the Shenandoah Valley Builders Association President David Milstead is concerned about the cost. How will this impact prices for new homes? Briefly.
Well, the costs are going to vary based on the difficulty of developing the site, but we've seen a lot of different ranges. I think is one of the most promising things is that a developer consultant in Richmond has just recently come out with an article that showed that they could meet these new regulations for just about 3% above existing costs. Hardly anything. In fact, they found in certain ways they saved money.
All right, very good. Well, Director of the Virginia Department of Conservation and Recreation, Joe Maroon, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you very much, Bob.